For millennia, people have been fascinated and mystified by unicorns. With their graceful beauty and alluring aura, these fabled animals have grabbed the imagination of people all around the world. Uncertainty surrounds the legend of the unicorn. Some individuals think that unicorns might genuinely exist, hidden away in the depths of the mountains or the woodland. Some individuals think that the unicorn is only a myth, the result of human imagination and inventiveness. We eagerly await your comments regarding what you feel about this. The mythical creature symbolizes purity and spiritual clarity in a broad sense. Odes, annals, biographies of virtuous people, and other texts often consider the unicorn to be a harbinger of goodness. Wizards and sorceresses rode unicorns in myths and fairy tales from the Middle Ages. Except for a virgin who could tame it and make it docile, it would murder anybody else who crossed its way. In most cases, even if a unicorn is captured, it can only be held with the aid of a golden bridle. And what if these are not mythical creatures but rather real animals that coexisted with humans? Let's turn to the works of one of the respected scholars of the 17th century. Between 1550 and 1700, 25 treatises about unicorns were published in Arabic and European languages. The unicorn left a noticeable mark in the literature and art of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period. Mentions of it can be found in books, and it is depicted in illustrations, paintings, tapestries, cult objects, caskets, and medallions. The unicorn cult reached its peak in the 15th century. From the second half of the 16th century, interest in it waned, but it experienced a revival in the 20th century. Jan Johnston was a Polish philosopher, physician, and naturalist who lived in the 17th century. He had a passion for natural history and devoted a large portion of his life to the investigation of animals and the classification of species. Numerous scientific publications, including encyclopedic works, were left behind by him. Starting in 1630, numerous editions of his work, Thaumatrographia Naturalis, were printed. Celestial bodies, chemical elements, meteors, minerals, plants, birds, quadrupeds, insects, fish, and humans are all covered in its 10 chapters. The dissertation Natura Constantia, written by Johnston in 1633, sought to demonstrate that neither nature nor human existence, including science and art, are in decline. His most important work, Historiae Naturalis de Quadrupedibus, which was released in 1650, is what made Johnston famous. It was a comprehensive, illustrated encyclopedia of quadrupeds that covered a variety of animals from around the globe. The book was one of the most important zoological works of its day since it included thorough descriptions, classifications, and drawings of various creatures. The work of classical authors like Aristotle and Pliny the Elder had an influence on Johnston's classification of animals. Based on shared traits, he classified the animals into several groupings and provided details on their habitats, activities, and purposes. The incorporation of excellent pictures in Johnston's Historiae Naturalis de Quadrupedibus is one of its noteworthy features. More than 1,200 woodcut engravings in the book depicted the animals in astounding detail and accuracy. Johnston's observations and the different materials he had at the time were used to create these images. Natural history and zoology have greatly benefited from Johnston's work. Throughout the 17th century, his concentration on precise representations and methodical approach to animal classification helped improve science. His book was widely read and had an impact on later zoologists and naturalists. Notice how several species of goats are shown beside the unicorns. But in the end, what do we currently know about unicorns? China, India, ancient Greece, Rome, Mesopotamia, Byzantium, Babylon, Persia, Scotland, all had cultures with representations of unicorns. All around the world, they are portrayed in paintings, tapestries, and coats of arms. For some reason, though, contemporary science asserts that unicorns are the creation of human imagination. Is that a fact, though? What is this phenomena that gives rise to the presence of supposedly mythological creatures like unicorns, griffins, dragons, centaurs, elves, mermaids, and others? We're waiting for your thoughts. And perhaps there is more to all of these representations than just the imagination of humans. These animals were discussed by Aristotle, Leonardo da Vinci, and Pliny the Elder. The Old Testament as well makes frequent references to them. They are described in length by the patriarch Photius I of Constantinople, who reigned roughly from 810 to 893 AD. Ancient Indian literature contains the most references to unicorns. Patriarch Photius wrote, "In India, there are large donkeys, as big as horses or even larger. Their bodies are white, their heads dark red, their eyes bluish, and they have a horn on their forehead about an elbow's length. The lower part of the horn, about 2 palm widths from the forehead, is completely white, the middle part is black, and the upper part is fiery red. Those who drink from a cup made of this horn are protected against spasms, epilepsy, and even poison, provided that they drink wine, water, or any other liquid from these cups before and after taking the poison. Their fetlocks are beautiful. These animals are very strong and swift, and neither a horse nor any other animal can outrun them." According to Chinese legend, unicorns predicted to Confucius's mother the birth of her son. The unicorn and the griffin served as the emblems for Asia and Gaul, respectively. In Celtic folklore, it was believed that a single touch of this magnificent creature's horn could neutralize poisons, purify water, and cure all maladies. In Russia, the unicorn might be seen on Ivan the Terrible's coat of arms as well as on coins of the era. A unicorn appears on the pages of the Kiev Psalter of 1397, also known as the Spiridon Psalter. This majestic creature is featured in the heraldic symbolism of numerous nations. It is represented on multiple sculptures and monuments throughout the globe. During the Renaissance, pharmacies were frequently decorated with unicorns. On the crests of numerous illustrious medieval knights, this symbol did not represent their nobility or solitude, but rather a common metaphor of the time. Enemies flee from a brave man, just as poison flees from a miraculous horn. The unicorn's horn, blood, and mane possess powerful magical properties. Unicorns typically avoid humans and prefer to be around sorceresses over sorcerers. In addition, their speed makes them extremely difficult to capture. The blood of a unicorn has both astounding and horrifying properties. Even if they are on their deathbed, a person who captures and kills a unicorn and consumes its blood will not perish. However, if a person's lips come in contact with unicorn blood, they will be afflicted. They will be punished severely for murdering this magnificent creature. Since ancient times, the horn of the unicorn has been attributed with healing properties, especially as the best antidote to poisons. Charlatans cleverly traded in the magical horn, passing off the horn of a rhinoceros, the tusk of a narwhal, or even the tusks of mammoths as unicorn horns. They sold cups and salt shakers made from the horn, claiming that they could remove poison from food. Either a cathedral or an aristocratic household could afford to purchase a complete horn. Queen Elizabeth I of England purchased one for £10,000, assigning the unicorn her emblem as the Virgin Queen. Regarding France, it was only during the French Revolution that the ceremony of checking the royal food for poison was abolished, along with the abolition of the king himself. The coat of arms of Scotland depicts 2 unicorns, as they were highly revered in Scotland. Thomas Lermont, a Scottish troubadour, and his contemporaries notably described the legendary creature through their songs. Despite its obviously mystical qualities, it was not demonized with the advent of Christianity. In fact, it was revered in all traditions as a beneficent and fortunate animal. Saint Benedict is depicted in a miniature from the 15th century refusing a portion of bread offered to him. A figurine of a unicorn, a widely recognized symbol, stands next to him. Medieval readers understood intuitively that the bread was poisoned and that the saint realized this with divine assistance. In Christian literature, the narrative of the unicorn's death and resurrection was interpreted as a parable of Christ's passions. Just as the unicorn subdued its rage and became vulnerable upon encountering the lady, so did Christ give up his divine nature and become human through the Virgin Mary. Ancient pagan myths about hunting unicorns are connected to the tale of a magical, elusive creature with human intelligence, extraordinary coloring, and a spiraled horn that could only be tamed by a pure maiden. The Hunt of the Unicorn is a series of 7 tapestries created between 1495 and 1505. These tapestries depict scenes of the mythical unicorn hunt. They are currently located in the Cloisters, a branch of the Metropolitan Museum in northern Manhattan, New York. Some researchers note that the wounds on the body of the animal symbolize the wounds of Christ. The enclosure and wall in the background are seen as traditional symbols of virginity and immaculate conception. A garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse. A garden enclosed, a fountain sealed up. The meaning behind this series of tapestries is still debated by researchers. Evidence of the existence of unicorns can also be found in an animal called the elasmotherium, a predecessor of the modern rhinoceros. Another candidate for the role of the unicorn is the narwhal, or the sea unicorn. In taxonomy, it is worthy to note that the rhinoceros, along with all types of horses, belongs to the family of Perissodactyla, the odd-toed ungulates. So, a common ancestor between them can bring the legend of the unicorn from the realm of fantasy to reality during an older prehistoric era. It is worth mentioning that in 2008, in the city of Prato in Italy, a deer with a single horn symmetrically located in the center of its forehead was spotted and captured. This confirms the possibility of such a phenomenon in principle. The presence of horns even in humans is also remarkable. It is astonishing how people in ancient times, without means of communication, could imagine the same thing. The noble unicorn holds the answer. In general, inside the animal kingdom, the phenomenon of a single horn can be encountered in various families: Indian rhinoceros, narwhal, unicornfish, cassowary, rhino horned lizard, rhinoceros beetle, horned silkworm.